Morocco, the team we need to stop calling a dark horse. Start with the side that already broke the ceiling. In Qatar, Morocco didn't just sneak through. They topped a group with Belgium and Croatia, knocked out Spain, knocked out Portugal, and became the first African team ever to reach a World Cup semifinal. That wasn't a fluke run on penalties and vibes. It was built on a defensive structure so tight that elite coaches spent days trying to figure out how to crack it. And here's the part that matters for 2026. That tactical core is still largely intact. Achraf Hakimi at right back is one of the best in the world in that role. Brahim Diaz, Bilal El Khanous. The spine that strangled Europe's best is still here. The game plan hasn't changed either. Low block, set pieces, deny the opposition stars any oxygen. At this year's Africa Cup of Nations, they kept a tournament-best 5 clean sheets and scored 4 goals from dead balls. So why are they still in a dark horse conversation at all? 2 reasons. The first is the draw. Morocco landed in a group with Brazil, and that Brazil clash is exactly the kind of test that defines their tournament. Slow it down, compress the game, and they can drag anyone into the mud with them. The second is the wild card nobody saw coming. Manager Walid Regragui, the man who masterminded the Qatar run, walked out in March. That's a real disruption this close to a World Cup, the kind of thing that can quietly unravel a side built on cohesion and trust. If the new setup holds the structure together, Morocco aren't dark horses. They're a genuine threat to reach the last 4 again. If it doesn't, this is how a great team gets caught. Colombia, Luis Diaz, and the team everyone forgot. Colombia missed Qatar entirely. They didn't even qualify, so a lot of people have completely lost track of how dangerous this team got. Under Nestor Lorenzo, they finished 3rd in the brutal South American qualifiers with 28 points, edging Uruguay and Brazil on goal difference. Read that again. They finished above Brazil, and this isn't a team riding 1 star, it's 2. James Rodriguez, the man who won the Golden Boot at the 2014 World Cup, is back wearing the captain's armband at 34, pulling the strings as the playmaker. And in front of him is the real engine, Luis Diaz, who just had arguably the best season of his career. He moved from Liverpool to Bayern Munich, won the Bundesliga, and tore through the Champions League. He led Colombia in qualifying with 7 goals. There's a real reason to believe and a real reason to worry, and they're the same stat. Colombia generate chances for fun. Their possession-based 4-2-3-1 creates opportunity after opportunity, which means they're basically never out of a match. But they also led South American qualifying in missed big chances. They scored a lot and they wasted even more. At a World Cup, that gap between chances created and goals scored is exactly what decides tight knockout games. Their group is navigable, with Portugal the main obstacle. If James can manage his minutes and stay sharp, and if Diaz keeps the form he's carried all season into the summer, Colombia have the talent to go deep. The ceiling here is a quarterfinal or better. The floor is a team that outcreates everyone and still goes home early because nobody put the ball in the net. Norway, Holland, finally arrives, 28 years late. This is the romance pick, and the numbers back it up. Norway are at a World Cup for the first time in 28 years, since 1998. An entire generation of Norwegian fans has never seen their country at this tournament. And the reason they're finally here is the same reason they're a dark horse. Erling Haaland is one of the most lethal finishers on the planet, and he has never played in a World Cup until now. He spent his whole career piling up Premier League and Champions League goals, while his country sat at home. That ends in 2026. The way they qualified should scare people. Norway won all 10 of their qualifying matches, 10 from 10. They scored 37 goals and conceded just 5, and that included beating Italy home and away, plus an 11-1 demolition of Moldova. Behind Haaland, it's not a one-man show either. Martin Odegaard, the Arsenal captain, is the creative brain feeding him. Alexander Sørloth gives them a second genuine goal threat. That's a spine that can hurt anyone. The questions are about everything around the stars. Norway have almost no recent tournament experience, and a knockout World Cup is a different kind of pressure than steamrolling a qualifying group. They've been drawn alongside France, which is a brutal early measuring stick. But here's the thing about a team built around a finisher this good. You don't need to dominate. You need a set piece, a transition, one moment, and Haaland punishes you. Norway can grind out a result against absolutely anyone, and that makes them the kind of dark horse nobody wants to draw. Japan, the most European squad they've ever built. Japan have a habit at World Cups. They beat a giant, they thrill everyone, and then they lose in the round of 16. They've done it again and again, 4 times now in that last 16 graveyard, and they've never broken through to a quarterfinal. In Qatar, they topped a group containing Germany and Spain, beating both, then fell at the first knockout hurdle. The reason they're a credible dark horse in 2026 is that this is the most talented and most European-based squad in the country's history. They were the first non-host nation to qualify, sealing it early and comfortably by winning their Asian group. They scored more goals than any team in their qualifying region. The roster is stacked with players from the Bundesliga, the Premier League, and across Europe, not domestic names making up the numbers. Tactically, they're one of the best drilled pressing teams in the entire tournament, usually lining up in a 3-4-2-1 with Wataru Endo of Liverpool anchoring midfield and Takefusa Kubo, the Real Sociedad playmaker some call the Japanese Messi, providing the spark, but they took a real hit before the tournament. Star winger Keiro Mitoma was ruled out with a hamstring injury, and Takumi Minamino is out too. That thins their most dangerous area, the wide attack, and puts enormous weight on Kubo to carry the creative load. Their group runs through the Netherlands. The realistic ceiling is still that same, round of 16, but if the press clicks and Kubo catches fire, this is the Japan side most likely to finally smash through to a first ever quarterfinal. The talent is there, it's about whether they can convert. If you're loving this breakdown, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. We've got more World Cup deep dives coming. Let's keep going. Croatia, the old kings with one last run. Calling Croatia a dark horse almost feels wrong. They were finalists in 2018 and finished third in Qatar in 2022. This is the most consistent overperformer of the modern era, a country of under 4 million people that keeps reaching the business end of World Cups. So why are they here on this list and not among the favorites? One word: age. The golden generation is running on fumes. Luka Modric, the metronome who has run their midfield for over a decade, is now 40 years old and has reportedly decided this is his last dance. Ivan Perisic is 37. The spine that delivered Russia and Qatar is winding down in real time, and you can't fake legs at a World Cup played across the heat of North American summer. But here's why you still don't write them off. Croatia's whole identity has always been timing and tournament DNA. They know how to win a penalty shootout. They know how to grind a tight knockout game into extra time and come out the other side. And the supporting cast isn't bad at all. Joško Gvardiol is one of the best young defenders in the world. Mateo Kovacic brings Champions League pedigree in midfield, and the Sučić cousins give managers Latko Dalic options the 2022 squad didn't have. If Modric can pick his moments and the younger legs do the running around him, Croatia can absolutely drag another favorite into the kind of grueling, nervy knockout tie they've made their entire reputation on. This is a last run for the Kings, and last runs are exactly when this team is most dangerous. Uruguay, Bielsa's chaos machine. Uruguay are a two-time world champion that nobody is talking about, and the reason they're a live dark horse comes down to one man on the touchline, Marcelo Bielsa. Since taking over, the famously intense Argentine has rebuilt Uruguay in his own image. Relentless high pressing, vertical aggression, an identity you can see from the first minute. They came through the savage South American qualifiers as a direct qualifier, and they blend genuine experience with a young, European-level core. The crown jewel of that core is Federico Valverde, the Real Madrid midfielder who covers every blade of grass and can win a game on his own. Under Bielsa, Uruguay became the kind of team that nobody enjoys facing because the pressure never stops and the intensity never drops. That same style is also exactly why they're not favorites. Bielsa's model burns enormous energy, and over a long tournament in tough heat, the tank can run empty. The other concern is up front. This generation of strikers is a clear step down from the Luis Suarez and Edinson Cavani era. Darwin Núñez has the physical tools, but has been wildly inconsistent in front of goal. So Uruguay can dominate a match, press a favorite into mistakes, and still come away with nothing if the finishing lets them down. They've also been handed a group with tournament favorite Spain, so second place is the realistic target. But a Bielsa team with knockout DNA and a player like Valverde in the engine room is precisely the kind of opponent that can ambush Brazil or a big European side on the right night. Sublime or erratic, never boring. Senegal, the attack nobody wants to draw. Senegal arrive as the reigning Africa Cup of Nations champions, and yet they're somehow flying under the radar, which is exactly how dark horses sneak up on people. Part of that is the draw. They've been paired with France and Norway in a genuinely brutal group, which makes simply getting out of it a serious challenge. Part of it is form jitters, including a pre-tournament friendly loss to the United States that raised eyebrows. So the expectation around them is muted. But look closer at the personnel, because this is not a side you want to face when it clicks. The leadership core from their 2022 run is still here. Sadio Mane remains the talisman. Kalidou Koulibaly still anchors the defense. That's a backbone of players who have been to the deep end of major tournaments and know what it takes. What pushes Senegal into real dark horse territory is the firepower they've added around those veterans. The attacking unit is genuinely frightening on paper. Iliman Ndiaye of Everton, Nicholas Jackson, Ismaila Sarr, all of it stacked alongside Mane. That is a collection of pace and end product that can hurt absolutely anybody in a single game, and at a World Cup, that's all you need. The defensive experience is there, the attacking talent is there, and the only real question is whether they can find consistency and survive that nightmare group. If they get out of it, nobody in the knockout rounds will be relishing a tie against this much speed and directness. Senegal are the kind of team that looks unremarkable until they're suddenly running at your back line and you can't stop them. Turkiye, the wild card that always lurks. Every World Cup seems to have a Turkey in the equation, a team that's hard to rate precisely and even harder to play against. They've quietly assembled one of the most exciting young cores in the tournament, and that's the entire case for them as a dark horse. The headline name is Arda Güler, the Real Madrid playmaker whose left foot can unlock a defense in a single touch. Around him, there's real quality, including a goalkeeper in Mert Günok who produces the kind of saves that win knockout matches on their own. This is a generation of Turkish talent that has grown up at elite European clubs, and they showed flashes of exactly what they're capable of when they reached the quarterfinals of the most recent European Championship before going out to the Netherlands. The reason they're a dark horse rather than a contender is consistency, the same word that haunts most of the teams on this list. Turkiye can look electric one night and disjointed the next. They have the individual talent to beat a major side and the fragility to lose to a lesser one, sometimes within the same week. But that unpredictability is precisely what makes them dangerous in a tournament setting. A team nobody can confidently game plan against is a team that springs surprises, and the expanded 48-team format gives a side like this more room to find its feet, build momentum, and catch a favorite at the wrong moment. If Güler hits the tournament in form and the team's belief snowballs, Turkiye are exactly the kind of name that ends up in a quarterfinal nobody predicted. That's the whole point of a dark horse. You don't see it coming until it's already happened.